Welcome to the Kincardine Bulldogs Podcast, sponsored by Kincardine Home Hardware. This is where we talk about past and future events for the Kincardine Bulldogs. Now, here's your hosts, Chuck Basti and Stevie Dunn. Hello and welcome to episode 2 of the Kincardine Bulldogs Podcast. This is where we talk everything Kincardine Bulldogs. I'm here alongside my co-host, Chuck Basti. How's it going today, Chuck?
We're feeling it today, Steve. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. The Bulldogs played 3 games in their first round series versus the Wingham Ironmen. 3 fight-to-the-death battles in 3 games.
And just like last year, where every game was a 1-goal game, but 1 out of the 6 that we played against the team down the road, these 3 games have all ended 3-2. And we were lucky enough to go into Wingham and, steal an overtime win in game 1 on Friday nights. And our first guest, our rookie sensation, Harrison Muelensteen, scores at 11 tickers into the final frame of overtime to really silence the crowd in Wingham. Something that was really unexpected because wins in that barn are extremely rare as a Bulldog. And then we had a game on Saturday night where we must have had about 800 fans come out, our biggest crowd of the year. And another 3-2 game, this time won by the team down the road. And then 2:30 in the afternoon, we drive down the road for game 3, and we end up losing that game 3-2 as well. So we come back to the Davidson Center at home on Tuesday at 7:30, and hopefully we can steal that win back home, and then it'll be a game to 3. Now,
coming into the playoffs, it was kind of a coin flip of who was going to start in net, and ended up being the veteran goalie Carter Garvey. How does he look to you in the first 3 games of the series?
Yeah, and you mentioned the coin flip as well, and it was more or less along the lines of, was Garvey going to be healthy enough to play? In the last couple of weeks, he got a lot of work done on his groin, and he was able to actually our staff of workers with the Bulldogs, whether it be Phil Berneath or Caden as well, they do great jobs with our athletes as well, and they're just professionals, wazoo through and through. And so we were really fortunate to have them and have a lot of work done on Carter. And Carter's played 3 amazing games back to back on consecutive games without having any rest really in between. He stole game 1 as well for us. And to the other effect, Garrett Golly, his counterpart with the Ironmen, has been just equally back and forth, just like it was last year with Josh Jacklin when he was with the Bulldogs, and with the Ironman, the 6'7" giant, I forget his name, Devin Carson was his name, who now plays for the Ripley Wolves. But it's been a goaltender's battle as well, and we haven't had a whole lot of offense this year against Wingham. And so to come back for game 4 and hopefully fill that net is a big wish list for a Bulldog.
Now, our guest later on the show, Harrison Muelensteen, he's got 2 points with 2 goals. Obviously, the game winner in game 1. How's he looked throughout the first 3 games? Obviously, scoring those 2 goals.
Yeah, and I think we actually had a little sidebar conversation in the audience of who was going to score the overtime winner, as they do on TSN or Sportsnet or whatever. Right. And I picked Muley because Muley's been overdue. So he had a bit of an injury as well at the end of the season that we rested him for. He ended up the season with 28 goals. We know that he actually could have surpassed 30 if we would have actually probably played him as well as not a precaution or hold him back. But Wingham plays a very stingy game, and so they know to key on Muelensteen and Grant and our scorers like Liam Calhoun and Carter Survey. So they've had a really stingy time this time in the first 3 games with us. But Muley's found the back of the net twice. Once, obviously, was the big winner in game 1, which couldn't have been a bigger goal for us. And he got a goal on Sunday as well that got us back in the game as well. So we're going to be looking for a little bit more output from our top 6 in our offensive output. But my money's on Muley.
Now, it seems to me like the series is getting more chippy as it's gone on. As In Game 3, there was 24 combined penalties.
Yeah.
What's that been like watching that battle between the two
Well, I
teams?
mean, that's to be expected. I mean, this is Kincardine Wingham hockey, so like nobody thought that this was going to be the Lady Byng Award, being passed out, and we've had guys tossed from the game on Sunday, retaliatory penalties. I would say, in my opinion, my view, the biggest difference between wins and losses has been undisciplined penalties by both teams, and certainly whoever plays better on special teams, whether it be on the penalty kill or the power play, is going to be the margin of error, which is very, very slight between these two teams. They match up really, really well when it comes to tit for tat. Wingham does a wonderful job of rolling over his top two lines. They play yeoman minutes. Got to give credit to their coaching staff as well, because they do a great job in keeping their guys aligned. The bottom six chips in as well and gets the occasional goal. Golly stands up pretty tall in net. But Kyle Stanbury plays 30 minutes plus every single game and just carries the load for him as well. So we got to be able to counteract that.
You mentioned Garrett Golly there. He ended up being goalie of the year in the Pollock division and ended up having, I believe, 9 shutouts at the season. And what's the key to beginning the goals that you have gotten on him?
I got to give credit where credit is due. 9 shutouts in any season for any goalie is great. If I was a regular person and I didn't know where Wingham was, I'd probably like Garrett Golly and take him out for drinks and celebrate. But because he's a Wingham Ironman, I have to despise him. But I got a great amount of respect for Garrett Golly and the Wingham Ironman organization as well. But he's got quick feet. He's got a great glove hand, and he's able to get in front of a lot of pucks and get down low. He sees the puck really well. He tracks it well. He got 4 of those shutouts out of his 9 against us, the Bulldogs. But he beat some really good teams. He beat Mount Forest, twice back to back. First place team. He's beaten Hanover. He's beaten everybody, and he doesn't get a whole lot of run support in Wingham as well. So when they win games because Garrett Golly steals them 1-0, 2-1. But they play really well as a unit. Got to give them credit.
Now, obviously, Game 4 will be on Tuesday. What are you looking for Kincardine to help them get back into the series?
I think what Kincardine needs to really start doing is just getting their bottom 6 forwards into the game and just really wearing down the Wingham Ironmen top lines. And then obviously in period 2 and period 3, the legs get a little weaker and wearier, and then you start wearing them down. We all know when you get tired, you start making unforced errors, mistakes, or take undisciplined penalties. And it really is just rolling over the lines, just like outworking our opponent. And we're just not doing that right now. We're not outworking anybody out there. And we're expecting that our offensive output's going to come through because it always has, but that works until it doesn't. And so what we need from our players on Tuesday is just literally everybody going 150 miles an hour on their shift, giving 100%. And we're missing that from Jordan Beisel. He has been able to not be able to play the first round because of concussion issues. We really miss his effort direly, his leadership as well off the ice, as well as his relationship with the players on the ice. And he plays crash and bang hockey. Every shift he goes 150%, and we need to really emulate what Jordan Beisel represents for the Kincardine Bulldogs.
In the playoffs, it's pretty much what it's all about is how much you're willing to give for your team. And speaking of how much you're willing to give for your team, that will lead us to our guest interview of today's show. Harrison Muelensteen, he ended up being the Pollock Division Rookie of the Year. He ended up leading the Kincardine Bulldogs in goals and assists. Welcome to the show, Harris Muelensteen.
Hey, how's it going?
How you doing, Yeley?
Good. You?
Good, man. Well, thanks for taking the time to join us on the second ever podcast for the Kincardine Bulldogs.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, what I wanted to do is I really wanted to kind of walk down your experience as a Bulldog. Obviously, you UAP'd with the Bulldogs last year. Wonderful story. I actually took this shot right here last year before you knew what a hairdresser was, and you get your first goal on your first game. That's you winning tacos this year. So it's a before and after picture last year and this year when you grew another 6 inches from last year. So there's a couple of pictures here from Mike Chenette. He's our Bulldogs photographer as well. And there's you with Councillor Kennedy as well from our first ward in Kincardine, giving you Rookie of the Year award this year. So why don't we start a little bit there with what you thought as being Rookie of the Year?
Honestly, it's an honor. I mean, there's a lot of good competition. I mean, that Dylan Shimnowski on Mount Forest, him and I were neck and neck all season. And honestly, I thought it could have went to him easily. And I mean, to get it, it's obviously a big deal and very happy with that. And I got to attribute a lot of that success to my teammates, my coaches, and all the support the Kincardine community has given me this season.
Yeah. And that being said, like, this was your rookie year. Last year, you AP'd. I mentioned earlier on that you scored a goal in your very first game. I actually watched that. I taped it. I have it somewhere. I couldn't find it on my media card. I remember your mom went crazy in the crowd, when you scored that goal. But as a rookie this year, you come in. You don't really have a lot of expectations of where you're going to lead the team in scoring, which is what you did. And you kind of come in. But what were some of the adjustments that you had to make along the way, coming in from minor hockey, that you jumped into junior C?
I mean, obviously the age, like in minor hockey, you're playing against kids relatively your own age, and then you jump to junior C or junior hockey, and that's all kids that are sometimes 4 or 5 years older than you. And obviously you got to adjust to that. And with that, you lose time and space. You got to always be alert, always have your head up and be ready to make a play. And that's kind of what I try to do this season.
There were some other things that you had to make off the ice as well that you got away with in minor hockey.
Yeah, I think the big thing is just being prepared every game and always coming to play. You can't take a night off in junior hockey, and if you do, other teams make you pay. And yeah, that's pretty much it. It's a big thing for me. It's always being
So let's
prepared.
talk a little bit about the experience. Obviously, this was a big year for you. What was your experience on and off the ice as well, with the guys, the dressing room, the travel schedule, playing against the big boys?
It's been great, honestly. Like, coaches, they've been great. They've given me tons of opportunity which has led to my success this season. I mean, driving to games with Carter Survey and Ryan Litt, 2 veterans in the league, that obviously helps. Then you have a captain like Stevie Grant, who has won 2 Cherry Cups in Listowel, and I watched that growing up. And obviously that's a big help. He's helped me on and off the ice lots. And then it goes to our group, like all the rookies on our team, we're all so tight. We're a tight-knit group, and I think that's really led to our success this season.
And what are some of your takeaways that you've had at the end of the season? Now we're in the playoffs. But going back to September, when you first came to camp, and now at the end of March here, what are some of your takeaways from this year, looking back at it right now, that are really fond for you?
I think the big things are, I always just picked up on the little things that I learned from the veterans. Like I said, those guys are 4 or 5 years older than you sometimes, and they have a lot more experience, whether it's on the ice and in life. And you always try and take little things from each and everyone, and that you can use to better yourself and better the team as a whole.
And what are some of your highlights of the year? I mean, like, pick a couple things, like 3 or 4 that you can think of that rank, that were like really cool moments.
So most of it has to do with the community. I mean, the community in Kincardine is amazing. We get so much support, and whether it was us doing the Christmas parade and handing out candy to kids, or selling Christmas trees to citizens in Kincardine, and it was everything. And signing autographs for kids, the fan interactions we have after the game, thanks to Mike, and everything. It's been great.
So that being said, and obviously the support as well. You were December's Player of the Month for the Pollock Division as well. You had a 10-point weekend. We mentioned earlier on, you guys in the dressing room give the belt for Player of the Game. And curiously, you didn't get the belt that weekend, and you had 10 points. What's the guy you got to do to get a belt around here?
Well, the one we didn't win. We lost to Mount Forest 6-5, I think. And the second one, Joseph Pringle, he joined us later on in the season. That was his first game back. So, I mean, it's hard not to give the belt to him when he's coming back first game.
And when you come down to the points where you scored 10 points in a weekend, you sit back on Sunday night, you actually have to come back and reflect a little bit and think, man, that was really cool. I had 10 points this week. And there's some guys that don't score 10 points in a month. And it was just a really good weekend for you. I
think it's just one of those weekends where every bounce goes your way. And I mean, obviously I have to attribute my success to my line mates and playing with 2 really good players, and Stevie Grant and Carter Survey that weekend. And I mean, playing with them, it's not too hard to put the puck in the net or create a scoring chance. So,
and I always want to say before we go that it's been a great pleasure to watch you grow from last year and this year as well. Like I said, you grew a half a foot from this time last year to this year as well. You got some flow going on as well. It's been wonderful watching you play this year. But before I let you go, I just want to give you a chance just to acknowledge or thank the people in your corner who've gotten Harrison Muelensteen to where he is today.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you can attribute a lot of that to your parents. They're the ones that brought you into the game. They started the love of it with all the sacrifices they make for you and everything they do they want to see you succeed, obviously. So they do everything for you, and that's a big thanks. And there's my old hockey coaches, all of them I've learned so much, take little things from. Jason Brooks I've done a lot of work with, and he's helped me tremendously over the years. I can't thank them enough.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's been really great to watch the enthusiasm of your parents as well, whether it be in the barns or online as well. I mean, Kara's your biggest fan, obviously online, your mom as well. And it's actually all that's really contagious out there as well. So we have to throw a thanks out to them as well, because they've raised you as a great young man, a fantastic hockey player. And we're really happy that you had the year that you had for us as Rookie of the Year, Harrison. And we wish you the best this year and next year in the rest of your career.
Thanks, Chuck.
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, no worries.
And that's Harrison Muelensteen, rookie sensation, Pollock Division, Rookie of the Year. I can't remember the last time a Bulldog got a distinction like that as well. And like I said to you, Stevie, like Harrison's just a great kid. I mean, like last year, I took a real liking to him. Just his enthusiasm comes to the rink. Works hard every day. One of the things I didn't want to embarrass him about is I got to the rink. It was a practice. I want to say it was October, and guys are walking off the ice, and Muley had already started out scoring. Like from the get-go, he was already on fire. Our captain, Steve Grant, told me in September, he's like, you watch this kid. He's good. He's going to be fantastic this year. He's going to outscore me. And Grant's an overager. And I watched Grant come off the ice. And I'm like, what are you doing, man? We just got here for practice. He's like, no practice. Practice is canceled. I'm like, why? Okay, I'll bite. Why is practice canceled? He's like, Muley just broke the glass. And I'm like, come on. And I walked through the door, and all these guys, the Bulldogs are all passing me going to the dressing room. And all the techs are on the ice from the rink rats. And Muley's shot, missed the net. It goes behind, shattered. And I mean shattered the glass there. It took him about 20 minutes to clean it all off and get all the nicks out of the grooves and stuff like that and replace the glass. But that's what a shot he has. So, and like I said, last year, like from the time he grew like 6 inches to this day, he became a man. It's amazing for, I'm 51 now. 1 year for me means nothing. I get a little bit more gray hair or a few extra pounds. But he became a boy and became a man inside that last year as well. And he just came out this year and just crushed it in the Pollock division. And we're really, really fortunate that we had Harrison for this year.
And you mentioned that he's one of the harder working guys on the team. And that usually is a key to guys like that, having those monster seasons and playing as well as they do, because they work so hard on and off the ice. And it's really great to see not only a Bulldog finally win a major award, but for Harrison himself to have such a great season.
Yeah, and I want to give acknowledgement to his parents as well. They raised a really good kid. He's grounded. He doesn't have a whole lot of entitlement issues like I always say that this generation seems to have. That's a generalization, but Muley just doesn't have that. I mean, he comes to the rink every single day. He's willing to learn. He listens to Todd Norman, our coaching staff, Russ Sutton, and Blair Pollock as well, and then takes in what he can. He plays good minutes. He's on the power play on the point for us as well. And, he just works hard. And it would be easy for a young man like Harrison and his age to be able to be in that position where he thinks he deserves more ice time because he's the leading scorer. He's a rookie sensation. He's the player of the month. He's the rookie of the year. And yet Harrison doesn't display any of that at all. He just goes out there and just takes business as usual. And he's the same guy as he was in September as he is now after winning all these accolades. And whatever the future holds for him, I always say the Junior C is a wonderful program to promote and empower, young athletes up through the ranks. And we expect Harrison to move on, and we hope Harrison will move on to play B or A and go up the ladder of junior hockey as well. And we hope that we've been able to give him that platform and success and confidence that he's going to be successful at the next level, which I have no doubt he will be.
And we're hoping that he's that successful in the remaining games of this series against the Wingham Ironmen. There's possible 4 games left. They'll play Tuesday night at 7:30 at the Davidson Center in Kincardine. And then on Friday night, they'll be playing at 8 p.m. in Wingham. And then Saturday night, they'll be back in Kincardine at 7:30. And on Sunday, there'll be a 2:30 p.m. start if necessary. What are you looking for from the last couple games as we close out this show?
Yeah, so Tuesday night's a must-win game for us at the Davidson Center, and it's just about getting the guys to be disciplined, to play our game, slow the pace down, control the puck, and just outwork our opponent. Like if we lose the game and we've outworked our opponent, I can live with that result. Kincardine can live with that result. But it comes down to our guys need to give 150% to all click in. And if we can do that, I'm confident that we'll pull out a win on Tuesday, which then forces, a best of 3 series, which will finish up, like you said, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And I think that we have the advantage in that side as being a deeper team in the bottom 6 than what I think Wingham is. But again, give Wingham credit because they found a way to win all year long. And they're very well coached and they're very well put together. They just play really well together. And they've been a thorn in everybody's side all year long as well. So, this is really a coin flip. It's going to be really interesting to watch the series play. And I'm going to ask everybody who's watching the show to like, share it, and subscribe to it, and then be able to come out and cheer us on, whether we're in the Davidson Center on Tuesday night or back in Wingham on Friday, and God willing on Saturday back in Kincardine.
And to stay up to date on all this news and any of the games going on, please be sure to follow all the Kincardine Bulldogs social medias. They will all be linked in the description of this video. Thank you very much for everyone for watching. We will be back next week for another episode of the Kincardine Bulldogs Podcast. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next week.